With the 15th pick and with the 26th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Dwayne Haskins, Montez Sweat.
Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sister. I am your man and resident Redskins fan, Luke. Thank you for joining me here on the Redskins Report live and in color. Don't diss the man, cause I'll bum rush your mother. What's going on, family? A lot of things have transpired, and I titled this show Redskins 2020 Offseason equals pretty interesting, because it's not even February the 20th yet, meaning we haven't hit the NFL Combine, and that's usually when things start to pick up. Free agency starts to heat up a bit, and a lot of rumors start to surface because everyone's in the same building at the same time. And that's when you start to hear about contract extensions, and this could happen, and this trade could potentially happen. And we haven't even got there yet, and there's a lot of things going on at Redskins Park already. That being said, I'm really fascinated by this offseason because I think it's a really big offseason for the Redskins. I think it's huge in the development of Dwayne Haskins. There's been so much swirling around this guy off the field. And really, a lot of it doesn't have anything to actually do with him or anything he's done. It's other people speaking on his behalf unnecessarily. It's other people kind of dragging his name through the mud unnecessarily. So I think it's a huge year in development for him. I think with all the changes, I think that it's important that Ron Rivera gets off to a fast start. And when I say fast start, I know a lot of you are unreasonable in your expectations. You're looking for 10-6. You're looking for 11-5, 12-4. If he gets to 8-8, I think it's a success this year. Unless we start the season off 7-2 and he finishes up the season 8-8. Okay, but if we are middling around 500 the entire year, we're 4-5, and then we're 6-6, and then we finish up the year at 8-8. I think it's a positive year for Ron Rivera. I really do. And I hate to set the bar low, but we were 3-13 last year, and it's a lot of moving parts. And so you have to be realistic, and we'll see how things shake out for this team. But I think it's a big year for Rivera. I think it's a big year for Jack Del Rio right out of the gate, because a lot of people think that the reason this defense underachieved for so long has been lack of a strong defensive coordinator. And we think we have talent. I still feel like we're not as talented as everyone thinks. A lot of people keep throwing out top 5, top 10 defense. How about you just shoot for top half of the league first, okay? I used to tell the Oakland Raiders fans back in the day, because they would talk about Super Bowl every year, hey, guy, calm down. Crawl before you can walk, all right? How about you just ask for the playoffs? Or hell, even a winning record. How about that first, then the playoffs, and then you can talk to me about winning the Super Bowl. I feel the same way with the Redskins fans out there. And I'm not talking to all of you. If I'm talking to you, then I'm talking to you. If I'm not talking to you, then don't take it personal. But I know there are a lot of Redskins fans out there that feel like, hey, why not us? And I get the division and I get all of that, and they look at the defense and they say, hey, why isn't this a top 5 defense? Because it's not a top 5 defense, all right? Because we don't have top 5 talent. We don't even have a secondary right now. Now, if the pass rush is as lethal as we think it could be, it will speed up the process. And this could become a top 12, top 10 potential defense. I won't be one of those people that throw out top 5. That's ridiculous to me right now. But wherever Del Rio has gone, good defensive rankings have usually followed. I'm hoping for that in year one in Washington as well. There are a ton of questions on both sides of the football, and I think this is going to be a big season. Off-season starts everything. Free agency, I think, could be a big free agency period. I think the Redskins will have a ton of cap space. It'll be interesting to see what they go after. If I had my pick, I would go after a few positions in particular, cornerback being one of them. And I think James Bradbury is going to be pretty high on the list, having some ties to Ron Rivera from his days in Carolina. Bradbury, if you heard the interview that he did with J.P. Finley on Radio Row for the Super Bowl, you heard him say, look, my first choice is to stay in Carolina, which I told you, generally when a team drafts you, if everything has gone well up until that point, you want to stay with that team. And so if they're willing to pay him, he'll stay in Carolina. They got a new staff, and that's why you just don't know if he's going to be welcomed back or not. We'll see what happens with them. But Marty Herney is there, and he does know what James Bradberry is capable of. And so we'll see what happens. But another guy on my list, high on my list, is Anthony Harris, the safety out of Minnesota. That's my number one safety that I want in free agency. Really, if you ask me, probably the number one player I want in free agency that I think is actually attainable. Sure, Austin Hooper would supersede everyone and go to the top of my list if we could get our hands on him, but I just don't think he's going to be allowed to leave Atlanta. So for me, Anthony Harris, James Bradberry are some of the names at the top of the list. They're going to cost you a little something, all right? Those guys aren't going to be cheap. Harris may be a little bit cheaper than Bradberry, but at the cornerback position, you're going to have to pay. The safety position is starting to catch up. You saw some of the big deals handed out last year to guys like Tyrann Mathieu and Earl Thomas and the likes, but you can still get away with a lower grade contract. And obviously, Landon Collins signed here on a massive deal that kind of set off the chain of events that would see those other two that I mentioned get paid big free agency dollars. But that's nor here nor there. I think Anthony Harris is a guy you can get from the Minnesota Vikings. Not cheap, but I think a reasonable deal for him. Also, James Bradberry is a guy probably going to get paid, and I think that the Redskins have a really good shot at getting their hands on him. Obviously, we need a tight end. I don't think we're going to go upper echelon tight end. I think we're going to be at the lower point, and maybe Greg Olsen is that guy. I know some of you aren't really fond of that idea of bringing him in, but that doesn't take you away from getting one in the draft, which you can have both. A lot of you seem to think it's either or. You can have both. You can get Greg Olsen and draft a young tight end. Those two things can coexist together. So I think that's kind of the direction the Redskins are going to go in. I don't expect them to be huge players in free agency, but we'll see. Rivera was never a massive player in free agency when he was in Carolina, so I don't think that they're going to go out and have all this money and just go crazy, but we'll see what happens. Rivera didn't have necessarily this much power in Carolina, and so I want to see what happens. This will tell me a lot because the Redskins will have plenty of cap space to maneuver. They've got holes to fill. I want to see what they decide to do with this roster, who they decide to re-sign. We've got guys of our own that we need to take care of, and Brandon Sheriff and Eric Flowers, just to name a few. Dunny, as we can see, wants new money. So does Trent Williams if he's to be back here in Washington. So we've got our own set of issues to take care of in-house. I want to see how they deal with all of those things. And keep in mind, just because you have money doesn't mean you have to spend money. We've got guys that are going to be free agents down the line, okay? Jonathan Allen, if you want him back, he's going to be a free agent here shortly. Same thing with Deron Payne. The list goes on and on and on. Don't forget about the guys that are to come, all right? Eventually, they're going to need to be paid as well. The good thing is Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, Terry McLaurin, well, those three in particular, are all on first-round contracts, meaning the Redskins have a fifth-year option on those guys. But a guy like Terry McLaurin, who's a third-round receiver, he's going to get here quick. You know, after his third season, he's going to look at the Redskins and say, hey, look, man, I need to be broken off. All right? No one wants to go into that final year of the contract without new money. So he doesn't have a fifth-year option. So before you know it, Terry McLaurin's going to need to be paid. So just because you have money doesn't mean you have to spend money. But there was an interesting couple of scenarios posed to me on Twitter, and I wanted to read both of them and get you guys' opinions on it. And then we'll open up the phone lines and we'll send you guys on through, and I'll get to the comment section and read any super chats. And remember, if you're out there, first and foremost, thank you for joining me. Use the hashtag LouisTLive to have your comment read on the air. And also, like the video, subscribe to the Louis T Network if you haven't already done so. But more importantly right now, you need to know the pecking order of the show. All right? So, super chats supersede everything else, everyone else. So, if you want your comment to be read, if you want something discussed, and you want to jump straight to the front of the line, super chat is the way to go about it. You super chat, and we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about it at great lengths if it deserves that kind of discussion. Second comes in with the phone call, okay? You want to have your voice heard, and make sure, one, that you have a very very sound and stable connection. All right, I don't want in and outs. I don't want to hear like you're somewhere in exile somewhere. Make sure you have a stable connection. Make sure your phone is turned all the way up. Make sure your computer or monitor or device that you're listening to the show on is down so that's not echoing in the background. And make sure you're concise with what you want to say and you get in and out. All right, we can't have the rambling going on because other callers want to get in, other comments want to be read. So keep those things in mind, but the phone calls come in second. All right, then the comments in the comment section come in third. So remember those things. We're going to be off and running here, but I do want to read a couple of tweets that someone sent me that I thought were pretty interesting, and I wanted to pose these scenarios to you guys. You know how I feel and where I stand. All right. I don't want to trade the number 2 pick, but one of these scenarios, the Redskins still get Chase Young, even though they trade out of number 2. If I can do that, I'm all for it. However, the compensation was not enough for me. But let's go and read this comment. These 2 comments, I should say. All right, so this tweet, first of all, came to me from @DylanCall2. All right, so thank you for tweeting at me, DylanCall2. He says, all right, he says, what about this trade right here? He said, hey, also, Louis, how would you feel about this? So then he sends me a screenshot of this particular trade. So I don't know if you've been following in the news or in the media, but there's been rumors. And, I've said this is lying season. Not lying season, all right? Believe half of what you see, none of what you hear, even if it's backed by me, your man Louis T. Don't believe anything you hear this time of the year, all right? Everyone's sending out smoke screens. Everyone's trying to be deceptive. Be very, very careful on what you take in and what you spit out, all right? Don't just see something somewhere or hear someone say something and go running with it because everyone's got an agenda this time of the year. That being said, a lot of Matthew Stafford trade talk has been going on right now. Don't buy the hype, all right? The Detroit Lions haven't been an organization that has been one to make crazy moves like that. I don't see them morphing into one of those organizations. However, Matthew Stafford trade talk has been heating up. So has, Derek Carr trade talks. Derek Carr has been traded from the Oakland Raiders for the last 3 off seasons, if you believe everyone talking. John Gruden can't stand him, wants to get rid of him. Yeah, okay, well, he's still there. So, like I said, believe half of what you see, none of what you hear, even if it's spat by me, your man Louis T. But anyway, he sends me a screenshot of a proposal for a trade for the Redskins for the 2nd pick in the draft. It says, Lions trade Stafford for a package that includes a 2nd round pick. So, Lions, in a separate trade, not included in this one, trade Matthew Stafford, and in return, somewhere in there is a 2nd round pick in addition to whatever compensation else they get for Matthew Stafford. He says, then the Lions, who have the 3rd pick in the draft, right behind the Redskins, Lions and Redskins swap the 2nd and 3rd overall pick. So the Redskins now move back from 2 to number 3. And in exchange, the Lions give up their 2nd round pick that they netted in the Matthew Stafford deal. He says, the Redskins now have a 2nd rounder and still get Chase Young at number 3. How would you guys feel about that? So I'll leave that one out there for you guys to kind of internalize. And so I'll repeat it once more for those of you in the back that didn't quite get it. All right, so Lions trade Matthew Stafford, and in the deal that they get back, they get a 2nd round pick in addition to whatever other compensation they get. They then trade with the Redskins because if they don't, and they want Tua Tagovailoa, so if they trade Matthew Stafford, it means they're going to get a quarterback. They're looking to get a quarterback right now, and the guy that they're probably going to end up with is Tua Tagovailoa. Well, the Redskins then become a hot spot because if the Lions want Tua, the Redskins can say, hey, Miami wants Tua too, and the phone is hot right now, Detroit. If you want him, you better come and get him. I got number 2 right here sitting for you, and I'll move back with you because I can still get Chase Young because I know what you're coming up here to do. So if you want to do it, let's do it. But if that's the case, then he says the Lions would then ship us their number 3 overall pick, so swap picks with the Redskins, 2 to 3, and in addition, the Redskins would pick up that 2nd round pick that the Lions got in the Stafford deal. My problem with this deal, only thing I have an issue with is that's not enough. We saw what the 49ers got when they moved back a spot and allowed the Bears to come up one spot to get Mitchell Trubisky. We saw how this works And I don't think a second round pick is enough to go from 3 to 2. If the Lions want to come up, I want both of your second rounders. The one you got in the Stafford deal and your second round pick. I want both of your second rounders, and I want a 4 or a 3 in the following drafts next year. So that's the only issue I have with it. But it'd be pretty damn tempting to move back a spot. No, you're still going to get Chase Young. All right, pick up a second rounder. I would still need more compensation, though, because I've seen other teams do this in the past, and they received more compensation than just swapping picks and a second rounder. So I think the 49ers got a swapping of picks, so they moved back one spot. They ended up getting, I think, a third rounder, a fourth rounder, and I think an additional third rounder the next year, something along those lines. I need more compensation. So that would be my only problem with that. But I wouldn't be opposed to that. Even if that's all the Redskins got was a second rounder, I wouldn't be opposed to it because you're still getting Chase Young and you're picking up a second round pick, which the Redskins currently do not own. So I wouldn't have a problem with that. And then he also sent me another scenario. I don't like this scenario. I don't like this one. But I will read it to you anyway. And then we'll get to your comments. So he says, this is from the same person, Dylan Call 2. He says, it might be a Z, but I'm going to say it's a 2 right now. He says, Louis, let me give you a scenario. He does preference this scenario with the following. He says, also, I'm not saying I want to do this, just putting it out there as a possibility. He said, but this could completely revamp our defense. So here it is. He says, scenario, we get Clowney. According to Bleacher Report, we could target him in free agency. All right, so we get Clowney. Because we get Clowney, we now no longer need Chase Young in his scenario. So now you trade back from 2 to 5 with the Miami Dolphins. In exchange for the Dolphins coming up to number 2, you get the 5th pick in the draft and the 18th pick from the Miami Dolphins. So you don't get all 3 of their first rounders. You just get 2. And really, it's just 1 because you're just swapping first rounders, and then you're getting the 18th pick in addition to that. He says, also, you get a 3rd from the Dolphins in this year's draft. He says, with those selections, the Redskins take Jeffrey Okudah out of Ohio State at number 5, and then they get Grant or Patrick Queen, which he's talking about a linebacker, at 18. All right. He says, then with the 2 early thirds, remember, Redskins still don't have a second, but they now do have 2 early third round selections. You get help for Dwayne at the receiver position and at tight end or at tackle or whatever. So that was his scenario there. And I'll let you guys ponder on that as well. For me, again, any scenario in which we don't have Chase Young is not a good scenario for me. So I was fine with the first one, even though I think more compensation would be needed. I do not like the second one. And I told you, I wanted Clowney last year. I wouldn't mind trading for Clowney last year. I do not want to sign Clowney to a massive deal. All right, Jadeveon Clowney is not, I repeat, not Chase Young. All right, Clowney is a really good football player. Don't get me wrong. I told you as much last year when I said I was very interested in the Redskins going out and acquiring Jadeveon Clowney. However, I'm not looking to pay Jadeveon Clowney what it's probably going to take to get him onto your football team. And furthermore, while Clowney is a havoc wreaker, he's not the 15.5, 17.5, 19.5 sack type of guy that we project Chase Young to potentially be. And if Young is what we think he is, you can't pass on those types of guys in exchange for a guy that's, he's a solid pass rusher, a disruptor, which is what Clowney is. The numbers don't always reflect that, but if you watch Clowney, you know what kind of a football player he is. But he's not the caliber of a pass rusher, which is what changes games in this league. As we saw what Nick Bosa has done. It's not because Nick Bosa is a dominant run stopper, which he is. It's because Nick Bosa can get to the quarterback. Changes everything. All right? And so I feel like you got to get Chase Young. In any scenario, Chase Young has to be the prize of the Redskins offseason. And so those are the 2 scenarios. I'll let you guys mull over that. In the meantime, we open up the phone lines. And I do have a super chat. So I want to get to that before we get to anything else. So I'm going to go ahead, open up the comment section, and read the super chat that I have. And then we'll get to work, man. So, let's see. First super chat from my guy, John Saluter, always blessing me with the super chat. John Saluter says, you hear this Mac rumor? I've heard it. I'm not paying it much attention. I'm really not paying it much attention because, again, as I mentioned, and I know the audio is a little low. I see it in the comment section. The audio is a little low because I have it more centered towards the callers. You can hear my voice. I'm pretty sure you can hear me. It's not as loud as you would like it to be. I don't want you picking up all the background noise I have around me, which is why I don't have my mic all the way up, and I don't want to be overly loud, and I don't want the callers to be overly loud. So on playback, it's a little hard on the ears. So you can hear me. I know you can hear me. It may not be as loud as you want it to be, but nonetheless, yes, I've heard the Mac rumors. No, I don't give much credence to them. Again, I just told you it's lying season, and there are going to be so many rumors. This happens every year, so there are going to be way more rumors, and as we get closer and closer to the draft, you're going to hear more and more about what the Redskins could do with number 2, and this guy could be traded and that guy could be traded. Free agency will tell the story, and we'll see a lot of things transpire. Then things will simmer down, and then the focus will then turn to the draft. But right now, everything's up for grabs. Everything's on the table because free agency hasn't taken place yet. But yes, I've heard those rumors. I don't really give too much credence to them, however. But I appreciate the super chat once again. All right. So Lorenzo Simpson says, playing along for a second, imagine the Redskins signing DN Jadeveon Clowney and trading with the Dolphins for 2 of their first-round picks and a second. What do you think? So we just talked about that. And I just gave you that scenario. Again, I don't necessarily subscribe to that because, again, I don't think Clowney is going to ultimately be a better football player than that of Chase Young. I could be wrong, and we do not know. But just looking off of what I've seen from Chase Young and how I feel about his skill set and his talent and how that projects to the next level, I can't envision a scenario in which he's not a dominant NFL player, period, end of discussion. And if he is what I think he could be and what others think he could be at the next level, people are saying that he's better than the Bozas, both of them. Those are elite guys in this league at getting to the quarterback, at stopping the run. Those are elite pass rushers, and he's supposed to be better than those guys. We saw what Nick Bosa did last year as a rookie, and he's supposed to be better. I can't pass that up. I'm sorry. I can't pass that up. I just can't do it. Got a call. Going to go ahead and take it. Oh, missed that call. So, yeah, I while the Dolphins picks sound good, I'm good. I'm going to pass. Let's see. Extra Squad says, how would you feel if the Skins drafted Tua? Not saying I want him, just a hypothetical. I wouldn't be a fan of that. As I've mentioned before, I'm fine with Haskins. I think Haskins is going to be really good. If you watch the way he finished up the season last year, there's so much to be really optimistic about after watching him rally back from a slow start where he had 4 interceptions, no touchdown passes, looked lost, and then to rally back down the stretch, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and really down the stretch, he was magnificent in his final 3 starts. I believe 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions, completion percentage up around 65. I thought he was a guy that showed command of the football team. He showed an ability to use his legs and create and extend plays. I feel really good about Dwayne Haskins. I think drafting a quarterback in the first round is a massive step backwards for this organization when you potentially have the guy that you need to run the show, and you could be filling a bigger void on this team or improving this team in a different area. I just feel like the best option would be to go with Chase Young, not to go in the direction of a position that we feel like we already have a guy in Dwayne Haskins. Got a call, going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Louis, this is Mike K. from Iowa. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
Just watching your show. I just thought I'd call in. I think that any trade talks with Chase Young is ridiculous.
Absolutely. I'm with you 110%.
Yeah. I just think that you got a guy like that no matter no matter how many holes you think you're going to fill, you're not going to fill them the same as you would with Chase Young. He's just once in a generation. You got to do it.
Yep.
Really, I was calling you the last time I watched you. You were asking what we thought about Breland versus Dunbar.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And are you still going with that? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's on the table. Absolutely.
Okay. You know, I love both of them. I dig both them guys. But and you know I got to tell you the one game against Dallas when Colt McCoy was the quarterback.
Yep.
He was not the star to me. Breland was the star of that game to me. He shut down
Des Bryant.
Oh,
yeah. I remember that game like it was yesterday.
Yeah, and I loved it. So, well, basically, I would like to tell you my opinion and then hear what you have to say about that.
Okay.
So, I love Dunbar. I think he's awesome. But, you know, just like you've said before, he's got some durability issues. And I worry about the nerve damage that he's got a little bit.
Yep.
Because it seems like he could get hit and it would cause a lot more damage than it would to your average guy without that nerve damage. Mm-hmm. So to me, I think he's great, but I'm worried about how many games he's going to play because, like you've said before, he's missed a lot of games.
Right.
And to me, Breland seems to have stepped up his game. So if we're talking the same contract to each one of these guys,
right.
As much as I love Dunbar, I'd have to take Breland. I feel like in the long run he would be better. And then after I thought that, I realized, well, shit, why don't we sign Breland back if we can? I know it would cost money, but it depends on how much it would be, I guess. And maybe we can get him back. And what do you think about all that?
So, okay. Great call, Mike, man. I appreciate you chiming in, and we're going to talk about it right now.
Okay.
Take care. So, Mike brought up some great points, and I don't dispute any of those things that he referenced. He talked about Dunny's injury, but not just the injury; it's the type of injury. It's a nerve injury that keeps popping up, and with those, they're hit or miss. And he's absolutely spot on. The durability concerns have to be something that you take into consideration when you think about Quinn Dunbar. For me, I think the ceiling is higher on Quinn Dunbar. I love his length. I love his ball skills. I think he has much better ball skills than Bashaud Breeland does. I don't even think that's close. His wide receiver background, I think, really helps him in knowing what a receiver is trying to do to him. I think he runs better than Breeland. I know he runs better than Breeland does. I love Breeland's dog mentality, though. I think Dunny has a little bit of that in him as well, but I think Breeland has more of it where he wants to challenge you, wants to come up in your face. Now, this is the problem with Bree is that Bree does have that dog mentality, but he can't run with everyone, but he doesn't care. So when he's not on his game, he'll get in your face. He'll try to jam you at the line of scrimmage. You beat him off the line of scrimmage. He can't make up that distance. And all of a sudden, he's getting beat. And it doesn't take much, or it's a PI because he didn't turn to locate the ball. Dunny seems to usually be in the right place at the right time. He doesn't get beat very often. For me, I think Breeland is the more physical of the two, but Dunny's not afraid. But for me, when I look at the two players side-by-side comparison, I feel like Dunbar is the guy that gives you the most in terms of upside. But if you're looking for a guy that's established, that plays with a level of confidence that you can rely on week in, week out in terms of his mentality, and he's going to be on the field more likely than not, then, obviously Bashaud Breeland is your man. But to answer your last question, why don't the Redskins sign, Breeland? I don't think he wants to come back here. Now, if the money is right, time heals all wounds, so does money. Money heals most wounds, not all wounds. Time heals all wounds. Money heals most wounds, not all of them. But a lot of money can heal some wounds. And so it's a different regime, different people here, but it's still Redskins Park. It's still Daniel Snyder. And so I don't know if he would want to come back here. And I've referenced that with Dunny saying, hey, look, someone had asked him on Twitter, what do you think about Bree and Fuller coming back here? And he said, I don't think either one of those guys want to come back here, after what was done to them here. So I can't envision either one of those guys coming back. But It's an interesting debate. It's why I posed it yesterday, because I think they have similar skill sets, but to me, the superior athlete and the guy that I think can make more plays is Quinn Dunbar. Just, can he stay healthy? And that's not a question you really have with Bashaud Breeland. So, anyway, got a super chat. So I want to read that super chat. And it's from Skins Fan All Day. What's going on, my man? What's going on, Skins Fan All Day? He says, what's up, my brother? I say no to all the trades. We got to get Chase Lawrence Taylor 2.0. I won't go as far as saying Lawrence Taylor 2.0, because Lawrence Taylor was one of, if not the greatest defensive player we've ever seen, or at least in my lifetime. So I don't want to go as far as to say LT 2.0. But what I will say is that unless we still get Chase Young, and remember, with the first trade scenario, you still get Chase Young at 3. So I don't have a problem trading back one spot if I know Detroit is coming to get a quarterback, which the Redskins aren't going to trade the pick unless they know exactly what Detroit is coming up to do. They're not going to trade Detroit number 2 thinking, all right, I remember when the Redskins traded back a spot with the Texans. They had no idea what the Texans were going to do. They just knew the guy that they were going to take at 21. I think they were at 21, and they traded back to 22 with the Texans the year they drafted Josh Doxson in the first round. I remember Scott McCloughan saying, look, if there wasn't a big enough difference between the guy we were going to take at 21 and the guy we would take at 22. So we didn't know who they were taking. We knew they were interested in a receiver, so were we. But the difference between the receivers at that point were minuscule, so it didn't really matter. But if you're the Redskins, that was 21 and 22. This is 2 and 3. If I'm trading out of 2, I need to know exactly who you're thinking about taking. All right? I need you to tell me, oh, yeah, I'm coming up here to get Tua. All right, he's all yours, bro. As long as I'm still getting my hands on Chase Young, we all Gucci. All right? So if you're still getting Young, I don't have a problem with the trade. But in the second trade, the alternative, the Dolphins trade, where you go back to 5, you're not getting Chase Young. And I have a problem with that, as do most of you. All right. Appreciate the super chat, Skins Fan All Day. Got another super chat. This one from Matthew Manos. Thank you for the super chat, Skins Fan All Day. Thank you for the super chat, John Saluter. And thank you for the super chat, Matthew Manos, who writes, hope we do good by these core players and re-sign them, Silverback being one of them, Sheriff, Flowers, extension, etc. Thanks, brother, HTTR. I'm with you. At some point, you have to start building a culture in the locker room that if you perform here at a high level and other guys in the locker room know they can count on you week in, week out to perform at a high level. If you're one of the better players at your position, you do your job, you do what we ask you to do. All right? You got to reward these guys here. You can't keep letting these guys go elsewhere. All right? You have to start rewarding these guys here in this locker room. And so, Sheriff, I know it's going to cost a lot of money. I understand that. He's a core skin. He's done nothing but everything we've asked him to do. He's been to multiple Pro Bowls. He's almost been an All-Pro. Those are the kind of guys you got to keep in the locker room. All right? You can't keep everybody. I understand that. I do. I totally get that. And you got a young guy in Wes Martin sitting on the bench, and I get it. And if you want to move on from Sheriff, I understand, because you got a younger, cheaper option on the bench that you think can get the job done. I totally understand that sentiment. But at some point, just off of principle, and it's not like you're paying a guy that can't play. Just off of principle, you got to start breaking some of these dudes off and showing everyone else in the locker room, hey, you do what we ask you to do. You play at a high enough level, you will get rewarded here in Washington. You don't have to go to Miami or to the Jets. You don't have to be Spencer Long. You don't have to be Jamison Crowder to go to New York to the Jets to get paid. You don't have to be Preston Smith to go to the Green Bay Packers to get paid. You don't have to be Bashaud Breeland to go to Carolina and then to Green Bay and then to Kansas City to get your bread. You can get it here. So I'm with you, Matthew. Got to start re-signing some of these core guys. You can't re-sign everybody, and if Sheriff becomes one of those casualties, I'll be disappointed, but I'll understand because you got a guy in Wes Martin that showed us something at the end of the season, and Eric Flowers looks like he's very serviceable, and so you feel like we can get a cheaper option because, again, you've got contracts coming down the line, so you got to make sure that you have money. Don't be the Oakland Raiders where you spend all your money before time comes, and now when Khalil Mack deal comes up, you're looking around like, hey, bro, we don't have the money to pay you. Or don't be like the Dallas Cowboys. You pay everybody under the sun. All your linemen, your running back, linebackers, everybody's getting broken off. Edge rusher. Now your quarterback's looking to get paid. And you're like, man, that's a lot of money you asking for. You damn right it's a lot of money. That's what the quarterback position demands. Then you look at Amari Cooper. Hey, we traded a couple of first rounders for you. Or a first rounder for you. Hey, we'd love to have you back. Might have to slap this franchise tag on you. Don't set yourself up and put yourself in that position. Keep the guys you got to keep. Let the guys walk that have to walk, but you got to start re-signing some of these core players. Anyway, great comment there, and I appreciate the super chat by Matthew Manos. All right, so we've gotten through all the super chats for the time being. Got a call, going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
This is Maria.
Hey, how you doing, Maria?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
I was just, I've been looking for your channel for a while because my sister, she told me that she got embarrassed by my mom on one of her phone calls.
Yeah.
When I've been looking for that video and I finally found it because she wouldn't tell me what it was.
Oh my God, that was hilarious. That goes down in the
I watched
history
back.
books.
It's so funny. Oh my God, it's hilarious.
It is. It is one of the funniest moments I've had on this channel in quite some time, to be honest with you.
Oh my gosh. She was so embarrassed.
I hope one day she's able to call in again, but I knew she was really embarrassed. I felt bad for her, but at the same time, it was so funny.
Yeah, me too. It made me laugh so hard.
Do you have anything Redskins, or you just wanted to call in and share that with us?
No, I just wanted to call in to show her this and then embarrass her more.
Oh, hey, well, job well done, sis. Thanks, Maria. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
We will never forget the shower incident here on this program, man. Moms came in. I know, I'm sorry, I'm going now. Click up. Anyway, back to the comments section. That was a nice little laugh there. DeMarco Williams says, what's going on, Louis? Celebrating my grandmother's birthday, turning 83. Big ups to DeMarco's grandma turning the big 83 today. Says she made sure I tell you that now the Redskins would prefer AJ Green or Emmanuel Sanders. I think Emmanuel would be more in the Redskins price range. And honestly, I don't see the Cincinnati Bengals allowing AJ Green to walk. If AJ Green's not going to be in Cincinnati, they're going to get something for him. I just don't see them allowing him to walk in free agency. So I think Emmanuel Sanders would be the more gettable of the two, but I don't think the Redskins are going after either of those guys in free agency. Got a call. Going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
This is James, man, from Louisville. How you doing, Louis?
Hey, what's going on, James?
All right, man, look, I think you're absolutely right, man. We need to pay our good players first before we look to – we need to solidify the players that we're going to keep in our lineups first.
Yep.
We need to get all them under contract, and then we need to look around to add pieces with the money left over.
Right.
Or whatever. Because I'm like you. I don't think we should go out trying to look for all these free agents to give them a whole lot of money. That's stupid. We done did that a million times and it didn't work.
Right.
So let's try to pay our players and keep the ones that we feel are good, because obviously players are leaving and going and winning championships and shit. So damn, we pay the players and keep them.
Hey, I'm with you, and like you said, I think you brought up a great point, James. We've seen that template before, where we go out, we spend a bunch of money on guys, and it doesn't work. And a lot of the good organizations around the league, they take care of their own first. Like Green Bay, it was crazy. They spent a ton of money in free agency last year, and it worked out for them. But generally, the Green Bay Packers model, the Minnesota Vikings model, the Pittsburgh Steelers model isn't to go out and spend frivolously in free agency. on other guys. It's to make sure they keep their guys in-house. And they pay their guys, and then if they see a guy here or there that they really think can change the game, they go out and they spend money. But normally teams pay their own, continue to draft well, and continue to spend the money inside the building. That's generally how you want to do it. And again, every now and again, you'll see a guy out there like, man, this guy fits our team perfectly. Let's go out and spend some money on him. But for the most part, take care of your own. That's how you win in this league.
I promise you, you hit it right on the head, man. And honestly, man, like that stuff like Green Bay did, that only happens every now and then.
Right.
And like you said, they usually stick to their basic principles. So if you just drafting and then every now and then grabbing some free agents when you need them, I think that's the better plan to go about a franchise. I don't think that you need to just start wasting money and losing players like that. Like, you're right about that Khalil Mack thing. Like, that was terrible.
Yeah.
Like, you should have paid him before anybody.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
That's super real.
Right.
You know, that was probably your best player on your team.
It wasn't probably, it was. And for you to have spent all that money on offensive line guys that weren't your own, they went out, they spent money on, you know, the center and Hudson and, you know, all these guys that they were spending money on. And then they looked up and they realized, damn, we don't have money for Khalil. And that's insane. You just can't put yourself in that kind of position. So, yeah, I'm with you, James, all day. That's what we need to do, man. Hey, I appreciate you calling in, man.
You know how it is. Keep doing your thing,
Yep.
Louis, man. I'm going to keep watching, man.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. Take care.
All right, you too.
All right. Yeah, I mean, James, spot on, man. That's how I think this has to go, man. I think the Redskins got to start really looking to invest in their own guys, you know. And it's okay to go out in free agency and sign a guy every now and again, but you got to start taking care of your own. That's how you build continuity. That's how you build camaraderie in your locker room, and that stuff matters. It does. It really does. Robert Gamble Jr. says, hey, Louis, what do you think of Thaddeus Moss? I think Thaddeus Moss is a really solid tight end prospect. I don't think he's one of the better tight end prospects, but look, he was good at what he was asked to do at LSU. He wasn't asked to block very often. He was usually split out wide. We've talked about him on this program sparingly, but yeah, he wasn't asked to block a ton. You know, he was a pass-catching tight end. And those have value in this league as well. But we've had one of those on our team before. One of those guys that not really a good blocker, but can catch the football. And he's not nearly the athlete that Jordan Reed was, but he's the guy that can catch the football. All right, so he's solid, but there are holes in his game. He's going to be on an NFL roster. He's going to make some plays. He's going to be a solid player, but there are limitations to his game. Got a call. Going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Lou, it's JP. How you doing, man? It's good to hear from you.
Hey, what's going on, JP?
I'm good, man. How you doing? How you holding up?
I'm great, man. Doing great.
Well, it's another Redskins offseason, obviously, and obviously the steps to build our 2020 team have begun. So, and this might be the most interesting offseason that this franchise is going to have, because the reason why I say that is because there's so many options that are going to be available. You know, we're going to have money. I mean, I know we're not going to go out and do what Daniel Snyder did and spend all this money on guys who are past their prime or near the end of their careers. I know we're not going to do that, but at the same time, to know that we could go out and we can get players that can help this team. We could go out and get a marquee name. We could go out and get maybe some second and third tier players. Mm-hmm. It's an exciting time, to be honest, Luke. It's not like in previous years when Bruce Allen was running the show. You know what I mean?
I mean, look, just the fact that he's not here makes it an exciting offseason. I think the thing that is intriguing this year is just the unknown. We don't know. Got a lot of cap space, but we don't know if Ron is going to want to spend it or not. We don't know. We don't know what the Redskins are going to do. We think the Redskins are going to release Jordan Reed. We don't know, but I would think that they're going to do that to get the cap savings that would come with moving on from him. we think they're going to release Josh Norman. We don't know that for sure, but they're not going to pay him $15 million, right? So you think all of these things are going to transpire, but we're not 100% certain. I mean, you hope they re-sign Brandon Sheriff. You hope that Trent Williams comes back and they figure out something with him. You hope they keep Dunny, but none of these things are certain. None of these things are givens. Same thing with Eric Flowers. So there's a lot of questions, not a ton of answers. And when you go into an offseason with this many unknowns, it's frightening, but it's also exciting at the same time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And knowing that we're not going to have Bruce Allen anymore, I think it makes me happy. It makes me sad that Jordan Reed's probably not going to be a Redskin anymore. I loved him, and he was so great for a few years for us. But he has to think about his long-term health. Josh Norman, obviously that would probably be coming unless Ron Rivera wants to bring him around, maybe give him one more chance, maybe move him to safety. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if Josh Norman got cut. But I know there's rumors that Ron Rivera has talked of bringing maybe a veteran wide receiver like an A.J. Green or Emmanuel Sanders. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. I mean, he could. Would you be opposed to the Skins getting A.J. Green if he is in fact healthy? Because I know he missed all of last season with that injury. And could you make a case for A.J. Green to come to Washington? I know he's gonna want to win, but at the same time, we could potentially surprise some people. I know it's way too early to say that, but to potentially have A.J. Green on our roster is pretty exciting. I know we haven't officially got him yet, but it's still exciting.
I can't envision A.J. Green being a Redskin, but that being said, here's my problem with A.J. Green. You've got to pay him. That's the thing, that A.J. Green's not going to come cheap. This is a future Hall of Fame football player we're talking about, coming off of an injury that a lot of people think that he's fully healthy from. I mean, if the Bengals were in the heat of a playoff chase last year, I think he could have come back and play at the end of the season. So you fast forward, 6 months, I think he's going to be fully healthy. He's going to be ready to rock and roll. The guy is a 1,000-yard machine. He's a playmaker. There is no way you're going to get A.J. Green on the cheap. He's still got if he's healthy, 5-6 good years of football left of high production. To me, you're going to have to pay this guy top dollar. I just don't see the Redskins wanting to spend that kind of money on a wide receiver, which is why you would hear a name like Emmanuel Sanders come up, because you're not going to have to spend as much money on Emmanuel Sanders, but you could still get some good quality snaps out of him. But A.J. Green, to me, is a guy that is probably priced out of the Redskins market anyway.
Yeah, it could be true, too. But, hey, maybe – again, Ron Rivera, he has a master plan. Okay, he has a plan, and I'm really anxious to see what this plan is. I know a lot of us are anxious to see what this plan is. I know he's got big things planned for Dwayne Haskins. I know he's got big things planned for the defense. I know we're probably going to have Chase Young in a couple months, even though we didn't officially draft him yet. And speaking of Chase Young, there's one thing, a rumor that's been going around. Again, I don't know if this is true or not, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on this, that the Bears are interested in acquiring the Redskins' number 2 overall pick in exchange for Khalil Mack. I don't know if this is true or not, but, man, it's Lions season. Rumors are going to swirl, but if you're asking me to pick my pleasure, I go for Chase Young, the younger, cheaper version, or do I get a Khalil Mack, who's already a Defensive Player of the Year, who's already an established player in this league? He's my favorite pass rusher in all of football. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He did great things for that Bears defense. He's been great ever since he got into the league. So, man, I want Young so bad. But, man, I don't think having Mack is – I don't think passing up on Mack but, man, Mack, again, I'm speechless right now, so I want to know your thoughts on that.
All right, I'm going to take that one and let you run, and if you want to get back in, you can get back in later. I appreciate you, JP, as always, man.
problem.
Yep.
Thanks, Lou.
So, all right. So my man John Saluda brought that up. I kind of glossed over it because I didn't give it too much credence. But JP brought it up in the comment section. He also called in, brought it up again. So let's address it now. Elephant is in the room. I tried to avoid it. Cat's out of the bag. Let's talk about it. So you heard what JP just said. There's a rumor. Again, I don't believe it. That's why I didn't want to really kind of bring it up as much because it's lying season. I just told you guys this. You're going to hear a million rumors. All right. And a lot of these couldn't be further from the truth. All right. And who knows where the origin of these rumors are. You know, somebody gets on their keyboard, on Twitter, or on their cell phone, on IG or Facebook, and one of these groups throws out something random and people run with it, and all of a sudden it's a rumor. Whatever the case may be. JP said, all right, Bears offer up Khalil Mack for the second pick in the draft. Essentially, you're switching elite pass rusher for potential established NFL elite pass rusher for potential NFL elite pass rusher. You're swapping out cheap option as a potential elite pass rusher for very, very expensive option as a pass rusher. You're swapping out young, fresh, and new potential NFL elite pass rusher for a little bit older aged veteran, still elite NFL pass rusher. Bottom line is, what I'm telling you is you can potentially get the same guy in Chase Young. All right, elite, dominant, potential NFL MVP, defensive player of the year, all-pro type of player for younger, cheaper option in Chase Young. To me, there's no debate. And if the Bears are offering you this, it's because they see the writing on the wall. Like, you got to understand the trade from both sides. Why would the Bears give you Khalil Mack for number 2 if they felt like he was that guy? Why? Because they think they're getting a guy just like Khalil Mack, but cheaper. They're trying to get from under that Khalil Mack contract. To me, that's foolish if you're the Redskins. It doesn't make any sense. And I understand. One guy's established. You know what you're getting. The other's not. I'm willing to take the risk. So, got a super chat. Want to read that super chat. So, let's get to that. All right. So, got a couple of super chats, actually. Few super chats. So, let's knock them out. First super chat is from Andrew Thompson. My man Andrew. Drew stays coming through with the super chats every single live stream. So appreciate you, Drew, for blessing the show. And Andrew writes, our secondary is a weak spot. I would also like to see us target Logan Ryan for the slot corner, trade Boston for free safety, and a good outside corner because I don't trust Dunny. Bradbury or Breland will work. All right, so let's kind of comb through this. It's a lot of layers here. I agree. Our secondary probably is the weakest position defensively that we have. If you want to get even more specific, the cornerback position may be the weakest position on our defense, period. And it started out as linebacker, but watching the backers play last year and seeing the depth that we've been able to amass with some of these draft picks over the years, Cole Holcomb, Sean Dion Hamilton, I think we're good. And even John Bostic, even though he's not under contract right now, gives you some more depth at linebacker. Excuse me. And I think Ryan Anderson can make the switch to outside, strong side backer in this 4-3 defense. So I think we're actually not that bad off, especially if Reuben Foster comes back healthy. But I'm not even counting on him. Even without him, I think you're solid at backer right now. Corner is the biggest question mark in the secondary. And we still don't even have a safety, but at least you have Landon Collins. At the cornerback position, there are no guarantees. I liked what Fab did last year towards the end. And I'd like to see Fab get a shot. And I know a lot of people are writing him off. I'd like to see him get a chance. And he will. He'll get a chance to compete. He's under contract. He'll get a chance to compete in camp and show what he can do. Even if the Redskins go out and sign somebody, he's going to get a chance to compete. Dunny is a guy that I like. I actually love his game, but I need him to be healthy, and I can't really rely on that right now. But if they re-sign Dunny, I'm all in on Dunny. I am. But corner is definitely a position of need. He says the slot is a bigger need. I agree. And look, I know we all love Jimmy. I want to score Moreland, And the people's corner quickly went from the people's champ to the people's chump last year. He's a rookie. You know, and those things happen. Growing pains happen. Injuries happen. All of those things happened to Jimmy last year. But if Jimmy continues to develop, I'm not giving up on Jimmy, but you got to remember, Jimmy wasn't a slot in college. Jimmy was a boundary corner. And I've said this a million times. The slot is not for everyone. You can't just jump in the slot and think you're going to tear it up. Like even Deion Sanders said, look, I couldn't play in the slot, man. Slot is a different animal because the receiver can go anywhere. I like to call it a 4-way go. Everyone likes to call it a 3-way go. Out, in, up. They can also come back to the football. So there's so many different directions someone can go. There's so much more traffic you got to deal with. When you're an inside corner, a slot guy, it's not an easy position to play. And so I'm not sure Jimmy's cut out for the slot yet. Anyway, Logan Ryan is a very intriguing player. He was really good for Tennessee. He was really good for the Patriots. He's a free agent. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I really would not be opposed to a guy like Logan Ryan. Even more so than a boundary corner. A slot might be exactly what the doctor is ordering for the Redskins. I wouldn't be opposed to Chris Harris Jr. either. He's a veteran, I know, and he's up there. I think he's 30 now, but he can still play the hell out of a slot better than anybody else in the league. And if you told me, hey, a 2-year, let's call it a 2-year, $24 million deal for Chris Harris Jr. in the slot, I'd sign up for that right now. I'd sign up for it in a heartbeat. And he'd make this defense immediately better. So I don't have a problem with targeting Logan Ryan in free agency. I trust Dunny more than you do. But, Bradbury or Breeland outside would be fine. But, again, I don't see Breeland wanting to come back here. But, again, money talks, everything else walks. So we'll see what happens. But, Andrew, great comment. Appreciate the super chat. We've got more super chats to take care of. Protect Sports, my man Tones, what's going on, Tones? Thank you for blessing me with the super chat. He writes, is Dunny a true number one corner? What's your opinion? I do believe that. But again, number one corners need to be available. The best ability is availability. You can run fast, you can jump high, you can have tremendous ball skills. But if you're missing 6 or 8 games a season, it really doesn't benefit us as much as it should. All right. You don't have a number one corner if he's not on the field. The reason why we look at New England and Stephon Gilmore and say, man, this guy's good. He's there every single week. He's a baller, but more importantly, he's on the field every single week. You know he's going to be out there and he's going to follow the other team's best receiver. I need Dunny to be available first and foremost. I do think he's a number one corner. Do I think he's upper echelon, top 5? No, I'm not saying that. No. All right. But do I think he has the potential to be a, top 15 corner in this league? You're damn right I do. Can he be a top 10? Sure. I don't think he could crack the top 5. I don't think his skill set is that elite. But I think he can be a top 10 corner in this league. And I firmly believe that. So, yes, I do see Dunny as a true number one corner. But he's got to stay healthy. That's the caveat with him. Appreciate the comment. Appreciate the super chat. Protect Sports. Blackskin HTTR says, besides Josh Runway Norman, I like our cornerbacks. HTTR. Look, here's the thing with Norman, or with our corners. You like them, you don't love them. It's a position that I think needs not necessarily a makeover, but it needs an upgrade. And as a wise man once told me, let me upgrade you. All right, let me upgrade this position a little bit. I love Dunny. I just need him to stay healthy. I like Fab and what he did at the end of the season. I don't love Fab. I need more. All right. Speaking of more, Jimmy, I want to score more. I need to see more of Jimmy Moreland in the slot. I don't know if, remember, we tried Fab in the slot. Epic fail. All right. Not everybody's cut out for the slot. We thought we could do what we did with Kendall Fuller with Thad Moreau, and it didn't work. And the same could be said maybe for Jimmy Moreland. We'll see. We may not have a nickel on the roster right now. So that to me is a big position of need, potentially. I don't know if the cornerback position is as bad as we think, because if Fab is as good as he showed us last year in brief spurts, then we're not as bad off as we think. But if he's not, then we are as bad off as we think, if Moreland doesn't step up for us. So we'll see what happens. But Blackskin HTTR, thank you for the super chat. And he says, look, I like the corners. And I feel you to a certain degree. Got another couple super chats. So let's get to those. All right. First up, Farrah Cody. Thank you for the super chat, Farrah Cody. Farrah writes, you're crazy. There's no way I'm passing on Mac. Laughing my ass off. So you are one of those people that, look, I'm taking the established, known commodity. I don't have a problem with that. I understand I have a problem with that. Let me backtrack. I do have a problem with that because I'm not passing on Chase Young. I'm sorry. However, I understand your position. I respect your position. And I don't vehemently disagree with your position because Khalil Mack is an all-pro, all right, in this league. You know what he's capable of. Instead of Chase Young, where you don't know what he's capable of, you think you know, but you have no idea. So, yeah, there's a risk that you're taking there, but I'm willing to take that risk, as I've stated numerous times. And I don't mind being called crazy because if wanting to draft Chase Young is crazy and wrong, I don't want to be right. And I don't want to be sane, okay? Call me crazy all day of the week, all right? Every day. Twice on Sundays, Thursdays, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, any day. All right. All right. Next up is Lorenzo Simpson. Once again, thank you, Farrah Cody, for the super chat. Thank you, HTTR Blackskin, for the super chat. Thank you, Tones, for the super chat. Thank you, Andrew Thompson, for the super chats. Greatly appreciate it. Lorenzo Simpson, thank you for the super chat. Zoe writes, what are your priorities in free agency and third round? My priorities are safety. I would like to get Anthony Harris. I think that's moved up to the top of my list. I think you can find a solid tight end option. You know, it doesn't have to, because at the end of the day, I think we're going to draft a guy, and I'd like to get a veteran. And I've got my sights set on Greg Olsen. That's the guy I kind of target. So I'm not so worried about tight end as much as I was earlier in the offseason before Greg Olsen became available and showed interest in Washington. He does have other options, so it's not a lot that he ends up here, but I like our chances with Ron Rivera being the one that is going to be dealing with him in the negotiations and the like. But I think safety is one of those positions. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to attack it in the draft adequately. And so because we have other needs that I feel like we need to address before you get to safety, and being that you just spent a high-level draft pick on a safety a few years ago in Troy Apke, and Troy showed us some stuff last year. I think he's shown the deficiencies that we thought he had, but he showed us some stuff last year. I think he's one of those guys that you don't need to count on as a starter, but just like Reed Doughty, he's a guy that should be here on the roster, and if someone gets hurt, you should be able to put Troy Apke in. He be where he's supposed to be, and if you have a package where you got three safeties on the field, you feel comfortable sticking Troy Apke in the game. But I don't think he's a week in, week out starter. I think you can get that guy in Anthony Harris. And here's why Anthony Harris has jumped to the top of my list of free agents, because I feel like we need a true free safety, a guy that can be a ball hawk, make plays back there on the ball, which will free up Landon Collins to then go where he needs to be, which is around the line of scrimmage. Landon Collins is at his best, at or near the line of scrimmage. I want Landon Collins blitzing as a run blitzer and a blitzer after the quarterback. I want Landon Collins in zone drops underneath. I want Landon Collins in the box as an eighth defender. All right. I want Landon Collins being nosy. I don't want Landon Collins 27 yards away, 35 yards, 40 yards away from the football in the action. That's not where he's his best. So a true free safety allows Landon Collins to be Landon. It allows us to maximize what Landon Collins could be for us. And so that's my priority in free agency is safety, then cornerback, tight end, and then anywhere else, linebacker. If you want to get a third tier linebacker to fill in, if you don't think Reuben Foster is going to stay healthy or be healthy or ready for the season, knock yourself out. But it goes safety, corner, tight end, and then linebacker for me in free agency. And then if you want to throw in receiver, I guess you could split tight end and receiver, and then after that would come linebacker for me in free agency. Then you ask in the third round, what would I target? I think the third round, and we don't know how the draft is going to go right now. We don't know how free agency. This is why I'm hesitant to answer these types of questions, because let's say you get a tight end in free agency. Let's say you get a safety in free agency. Then those two needs are really off the board at that point. You're not really looking for those positions. But let's assume that we don't do anything at tight end. I think the third round is where you need to strike while the iron is hot at the tight end position. Let's say that you don't get a corner in free agency. Maybe that's where you go after corner. For me, tight end, whether you sign a guy in free agency or not, the third round for me is tight end. That's what I'm looking at. Now, if there's a steal at another position that we desperately need, knock yourself out. If there's a linebacker sitting there that you didn't expect, you got a second round grade on him, and you would have taken him if you had a second round pick, but here he is sitting here for you in the third round, go after him. Go get him. Same thing could be said for safety, corner, tight end, whatever. But for me, tight end is at the top of my list in the third round, because this is not a tight end heavy draft. So if you want an elite prospect at the tight end position, I think you got to go get him early. I don't think there's a first round tight end in this draft. And because of that, I think you're going to see a run on the quality tight ends in the second to third round. So you got to go get yours while he's there to be got. And I think the third round is when you need to prioritize tight end and go ahead and get it out of the way while you can. So that's what I would do, is go after free agency, safety. Anthony Harris is the guy that I want, that I'm targeting. And then third round, I'm looking at tight end. Thank you for the super chat, Lorenzo Simpson. Khalil Young says nothing. He just wanted to drop $2 on the kid. I appreciate you, Khalil Young. Appreciate the super chat. Good looking out, man. Really appreciate that. Eric James, same thing. Just wanted to bless me with $1. I appreciate that. Good looking out on the super chat, man. Really do appreciate the love. Thank you, Eric James. Thank you, Khalil Young. Got another super chat. This one from Blackskin HTTR. Once again, thank you once again for the super chat. He writes, I want Sean Dion Hamilton and Tim Settle on the field more this year. I don't care if you're a first-round guy. I see instincts in Sean Dion Hamilton, and Settle gets up the field. I agree with you in both situations, and I think you will see those guys more this year because of the switch from a 3-4 to a 4-3. You can do more out of a base 4-3 package than you can a 3-4 package, and it allows you to put two defensive linemen on the field. And you're going to see the Redskins trying to keep these guys fresh, rotating them in and out. So it really doesn't matter who starts, whether it's Ioannidis and Payne, or Ioannidis and Allen, or Allen and Payne. It doesn't matter who starts at defensive tackle, because I think you're going to see Settle, Payne, Ioannidis, and Allen rotating in and out of the lineup in that four-man front. And I think you're going to see these guys on the field. And I agree, Settle needs to play more. But more importantly, Sean Dion Hamilton always flashes when he's on the field. And for the life of me, I can't understand why he wasn't getting more snaps. There's got to be a rhyme and a reason as to why he hasn't been playing more. But whatever the case may be, I, like you, would like to see him more. And I think with this 4-3 defense, there's a distinct possibility that you will see him on the field more. And we'll see what Ron Rivera thinks about him, because Rivera was a linebacker / safety himself when he was in the league. Rivera has had elite linebackers, so he knows what elite linebacker play looks like at this level with Shaq Thompson and obviously Luke Kuechly. He knows what elite linebacker play looks like. So if he feels like guys can play, they'll be on the field. And I think Sean Dion Hamilton will be one of those guys that ultimately ends up on the field. So thank you guys for the super chat. No more super chats in the chamber right now as we sit here. So we go back to the phone lines, and I just missed that call. So we will then go back to the comment section, and let's see. Trayvon Johnson says, I know this isn't a fun name, but what about Devin Funchess? He's a big wide receiver. I wouldn't mind. Devin Funchess has Carolina Panther ties. I referenced that, I think, like 3 shows ago, but and he could be a guy to watch out for. We don't have a big body target on this team outside of Kelvin Harmon, really. And so I know a lot of you, don't forget about Cam Sims. Okay, Cam Sims is here as well. But Funchess is interesting. He had an injury-plagued season last year in Indianapolis. He's not coming off of a big season. So he's not going to command a ton of money. He's going to have to sign a 1-year prove-it deal, similar to the one he signed in Indianapolis. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Devin Funchess this year. I wouldn't be opposed to Devin Funchess. I'm not the biggest Devin Funchess fan. When he's on, he's a problem. All right. When he's not, he's a guy that has concentration drops, and he's a guy that can get inside his own head at times. So I'm on the fence. I'm lukewarm about Devin Funchess. And you're right, he's not a sexy name, but we'll see what happens with him in free agency. Got a call. I'm going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, what's up, Louis? Derek B, man.
What's going on, Derek B?
Hey, man, yeah. Thanks for the shot. I saw the video that you did last night. Thanks for reading the comment. I appreciate that.
Hey, no problem. Thank you for the comment, man. It was a very insightful and thoughtful one, and that's why I read it.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, I want to talk about Dunny and Breland. I like Dunny, but my issue with him I understand there was a miscommunication. He kind of brought it back a bit, but the way I see it, like say, if you have a job and your company has a hostile takeover, which is basically what happened with the Redskins, new coaching regime. And then when the new people come in, the first thing you do is start getting chippy about your money. It's just a bad look. I didn't care for that at all.
You know what? In a normal situation, if you're working a blue collar job, a white collar job, yeah, that wouldn't sit well. But this is football. It's a different animal, and guys have to go about it a different way. If this were basketball or baseball, I would have had a major issue with this because all your money is guaranteed. But this is the NFL, and nothing's guaranteed. And unlike those other sports, your body is more prone to breaking down on you in this sport than any other sport. So I understood where he was coming from because, again, and this is why I brought it up on the video yesterday, you got to see it from Dunny's perspective. And look, I did not like the fact that he requested a trade. And he did do that. He walked it back because there was a lack of communication. And then Rivera reached out and kind of put the fire out. And so he walked that back, realizing that I probably shouldn't have done that. That wasn't the way to go about it. But he was feeling a little bit of disrespect, and he was feeling a little, some type of way about not having the team reach out to him about an extension. That being said, putting that aside, because I did not like the fact that he did that. Putting that aside, though, you got to get your money in this league, man. You got to get your bread. And he watched Reuben Foster go down in OTAs last year, like in a heap, shred his knee.
He did.
So when you see that kind of stuff, and you know that there's no guarantees.
That was what, May, June?
I think it was May. I think it was May when that happened. June.
It's February, and the man has had the job for a month.
Mm-hmm. Right, I agree with you.
It's February.
Derek, I agree with you on that.
The OTAs and nothing has happened, then I can understand it. You want to get a little chippy. You don't talk about that. Nobody else has done that in February. Except for him. Nobody else around the league. Have you heard anybody else get like that around the league?
No. And this is the thing too. And I'm with you on the fact that I thought it was way too early for that. Dunny didn't even give the man a chance to get settled in, and it'd be one thing if we were near, because I think also in Dunny's mind, he's thinking, hey, don't spend up all those free agent dollars, and then when I come asking for my extension, you tell me I don't have any more money. Don't go out here and spend $47 million on James Bradbury, and I ain't got paid yet. I understand from that angle, but as you mentioned, it's a little early for that. Free agency doesn't start till March 16th. There's time. Let Ron settle in, and let's say you don't hear from Ron, and we're approaching March now. Okay, now you might be able to say something. Because again, what you don't want them to do is go out and spend your money on somebody else in free agency, and then when you come knocking on the door and say, hey, man, what about me? And they say, hey, look, man, we would have taken care of you, but we just spent some money. We just went shopping with your bread. So I can understand it from that perspective, but at the same time, I, like you, feel like, A, I didn't like the way he went about it. B, I don't like the timing of it either. But I understand where he's coming from.
You let your agent take care of everything. You get to March, and if once free agency starts, you don't hear anything back from the team, then maybe I can understand getting a little upset. I still wouldn't take it to the media, really.
Right. I wouldn't have either. I wouldn't.
But what I would like to see from him is to think like, okay, I just got away from this terrible defensive coaching staff, yet I was able to overcome it and have a pretty good season. What can I become with Jack Del Rio, with Ron Rivera? Well, what can I do with that coaching staff?
Right.
Well, what happens? And then be like, you know what? What if I do get the free agency? Shoot, Kirk Cousins, he couldn't wait to get the free agency. He was like, yeah, give me that. And then you get a set of a contract where you're making, what was that Breland contract? $9 million for
3 years, $27 million.
For $27 million.
Yeah.
Then maybe you get to $50 million as a corner if you really light it up under that coaching staff.
No,
but I understand you want to get your guaranteed money. That's fine, and I think the Redskins probably would have done it. They probably still will. But and then the amount of money that you were spitting out, like 4 years, $45 million. I was like, what?
Yeah.
At the $10+ million per year, you got to be on the field getting like 4 picks a year for like 3-4 years straight. And you got to really build some. He's had trouble even staying on the field. I don't see guys like that getting big money contracts.
Look, if this were the NBA, Dunny would be a high efficiency player. He's not on the field as much as we would like him to be, but when he's on the field, he's very, very productive. You just said a 4 interception a year guy for multiple years. Well, he's averaging 3 interceptions the last 2 years. This is playing in just over half of the games that he was able to participate in. And he's getting 6. He had 6 interceptions the last 2 years, 4 last year, 2 the year before. So this is a guy that's very productive.
Like, what? Yeah, but did you see who the quarterbacks were that he got those picks off of?
Sure. Look, I'm not disputing it. Hey, you get the picks when you get the picks. Yeah, Daniel Jones and the Detroit Lions.
And Josh. Josh Rosen. It wasn't like he was picking off, murderer's row of quarterbacks.
I totally get that. I understand that. But if you watch, and I know you've watched, he had a good season.
Anytime that the ball was thrown his way, I was comfortable. Anytime the ball was thrown Josh Norman's way, I knew it was a touchdown.
Right. And so you have to pay for that level of comfort. You like, that's not free. That's not cheap.
I don't want to get Ashburn syndrome thinking that, okay, just because he's not that he's all world.
And I think some people have fallen into that PFF trap. I'm told you I hate Pro Football Focus. And I think some people have fallen into that trap because every time you see one of their posts, Dunny's in the top 3, he's top 2, he's number 1, and grading out for this and that. And look, I watch the games. I know he's performing at a high level. So I don't need Pro Football Focus to tell me he's playing at a high level. However, like you said.
Yeah, I don't need them to tell me that he's Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
I know he's not.
I know he's not Jalen Ramsey. I understand that. And so I need everyone to understand that this guy's good. And it's not Ashburn syndrome, okay? He is really good. He's a really good corner. He just needs to stay healthy.
I like him.
Yeah.
I've watched him his whole career. Every game I watched him. So, and every time he was on the field, even when he didn't know what the hell he was doing, I thought he was still doing, he was still competing.
Yeah. I love Dunny. You like him. I love him. I think he's a guy that if he stays healthy and, if it's a big word, but if he can stay healthy, I think there's immense potential in him moving forward.
Yeah, and I'm still worried about the nerve damage in his shin.
And you should be.
I'm still worried about that.
You should be.
And the thing with Jordan Reed. Now I do have to give a little support to my man Breland. You went through the video and talked about the bad times. I saw that with Michael Irvin, or not Michael Irvin, with Des Bryant and Antonio Brown. Those are some bad games, but those guys are giving bad games to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But what I saw the last 2 years, what you didn't talk about was him in the Super Bowl and what he did with the whole year, the whole postseason, 18 tackles, 4 pass defense, and just in the playoffs. Yeah. And what he did last year with the Packers, I thought he played well for them too.
I didn't mention
about even. I just give the nod to to Breland because he's a better tackler, supports the run better.
Yeah.
Just as good as a cover corner. I think he's just more of a natural corner because that's what he's done. He's always done it. So
Yeah.
I give him the nod. That's how I felt about it.
Yeah, you brought that up. You said it eloquently in your comment, and I don't disagree with any of that in terms of his tackling prowess. And I didn't bring up Green Bay and Kansas City because I talked about him here in Washington and how he left. I think if you've been following, because I think one thing about Redskins fans is we have this, again, it's because we've been terrorized for so long. And we have this weird thing where if a guy leaves here, we follow the rest of his career. Like if he played well for us at any point, he goes somewhere else, we follow that guy, and every time he does something really well, you're tweeting out about it or you're on socials, and he's one of those guys. Every time he makes a play, look at Bree. But the same people doing that didn't care when Bree left in free agency. I was one of the people saying, hey, I know he had a down year. And people don't forget, and that's why I brought it up, and I didn't bring up the stuff here because a lot of people were killing him that season. Just like how they're killing Josh Norman right now. Go back in time and recollect how Redskins fans were treating Bashaud Breeland that year when we first got Norman. The first year Norman, remember, he thought he was going to be the number one corner. Redskins go out because the Panthers rescinded the franchise tag at the end of free agency. They get lucky. They get their hands on Norman. We're all excited. You expect Norman to come in, assume the number one role. Breeland now goes to number two, and I'm thinking he's going to be the best number two corner in the league. And in his mind, I'm a number one. And he felt disrespected. And the first 2 weeks of that season, and remember, we're coming off of a season in which we just made the playoffs. We were 2015, Kirk Cousins, you like that. We're playing ball. Everyone's excited. And we get the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night, the first game, and he gets his ass destroyed by Antonio Brown. And then the next week, he follows that up, and Dez kills him. 3rd and 15, Dez gets him for 18, and they go down, they go score that touchdown at the end of the game, beat us. Much of those yards on Bree, and you can see him losing the confidence. Now he's losing his confidence.
You know what? Even with those games, he was right there. He was in position.
He was right there.
It wasn't. He was right there, and then they just made the play.
It's a difference between
Brown
being
was just
right
better,
there.
but he wasn't getting.
He wasn't getting blown, but it's a difference between being right there and making a play against the Patriots in the AFC in the regular season game. He was right there and he made the play. All right, the knockaway to preserve the game. In the Super Bowl, he was right there where he needed to be, and he picked the ball off. It was deflected, but he was right there and he made a play. What separates corners in this league are the guys that are right there but don't make the play, and the guys that are right there and they make a play. And what we've seen from Bree of late is that he's right there and now he's making the play instead of right there.
He was on his field, and he admitted too that it really got to him.
It did. You could tell.
And then he saw how Norman was playing. He wasn't even playing well.
He wasn't playing great.
From what I saw with Norman, we got maybe 5 good games out of him where I was just like, okay. Like that Giants game against
Odell.
Beckham, that was fun.
Yep. Yep.
But for the most part, it's been a disaster, the entire contract.
It has been. It really was. I think he's forced a ton of fumbles, and he's been really good in that aspect. But in terms of the level of production we were expecting out of him at the corner, and honestly, I think we just misused him, to be honest with you. We misused him, and he had an inflated sense of self and an inflated ego, and he thought he was better than what he was, and he had to find out the hard way that you're Dick Sherman. And don't let Darrelle Revis con you into thinking you're Darrelle Revis. If you're a cover 3 corner, be who you are. Don't let somebody tell you, oh, you're not the number one corner in the league, you're not this, you're not that, because you're not traveling. Leave that for Patrick Peterson. Leave that for Jalen Ramsey. Leave that for the elite one-on-one dudes who can do that. You're not capable of doing that. Stay in your lane. He didn't do that. He had to pay for it. Hey, Derek, man, I appreciate you chiming in, man. As always, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for letting me chop it up, man.
No doubt.
Appreciate it. Keep doing what you do.
No doubt. Take care.
You do. Peace.
All right. So let's check to make sure we have no more super chats. I know that was a little bit of a longer call, but my man Derek B always brings the heat. So want to go ahead and get to some more super chats because we have more super chats. All right, so this one is from Justin Hodge. Appreciate the super chat, Justin Hodge. He says, hey, it's your Redskins, your resident Utah Redskins fan. Always love when you throw that out there first. I need that. All right, I need that from you, Justin. All right, so Jay Hodge says, hooking up the chat tonight, looking for Timothy Wells and answer his question. Please, that is HTTR. So you said look up Timothy Wells. Look for Timothy Wells and answer his question. I see a lot of comments from Timothy Wells. I see one comment here from Timothy Wells. So I'm going to answer that. You put in $5 for Timothy Wells. So this is the one I see. He says, Louis, Hunter Henry is the clear choice at free agency at tight end. Don't you agree? He's always scoring. I love Hunter Henry. I think he's a really talented football player. I loved Hunter Henry coming out of Arkansas. He was the first tight end taken in his particular draft 4 years ago. However, he's always hurt. And so that's my biggest problem with Hunter Henry. When he's healthy, Triple H is a beast. And to me, he's better than Austin Hooper. He's an all-around better tight end is Triple H. I just need him to stay healthy. And I'm willing to pay Dunny because he's my guy. All right, he's my guy. I'm going to pay my guy. I'm a little hesitant to go outside of the organization and pay somebody else's damaged goods. Now, he may ultimately not get hurt anymore, and that's what I'm hoping for Dunny. And Triple H may ultimately go on to have a fantastic NFL career, not get hurt anymore, and be one of the better tight ends in the league. It'd suck if we had a chance to get him and we passed on him. Yes, let me ask you a question. I said all of that to say this. Yes, he's the best free agent option to me at the tight end position. Better than Austin Hooper, better than Eric Ebron or anybody else you could throw out there. When healthy, to me, he's the best tight end of them all. So, yes, to answer your question. And thank Justin Hodge for that question being answered. And thank you once again for the super chat, Jay Hodge. Andrew Thompson, back again. He did it again. Thank you for the super chat. Again, Drew, appreciate you blessing the program. He says, do you think we should hold back on spending and trading older guys like Trent Kerrigan for picks in a plan for a championship window and say, let's say 3 years? Or do we use all of our resources to win now? Let me read that again in case I kind of confused you with the way I read it. He says, do you think we should hold back on spending and trading older guys like Trent and Kerrigan for picks in plan for a championship window in, let's say, 3 years? So right now you're thinking, hey, we're going to be able to win a chip in 3 years. We're not there yet, but in 3 years we should be in a position to make a push to try to win. Let's set ourselves up for that. Or should we use all of our resources to try and get it done right now? That's really interesting because on one hand, the goal is to win and win now. You know, and the NFL is set up for you to be Jacksonville at 4-12 one year, and then Jacksonville at 11-5 the next year, and in the AFC Championship. The NFL is set up for that. You know, Jacksonville, I think they went 10-6, made it to the postseason, and won the division, and almost went to the Super Bowl. That's how the NFL is set up. For you to be bad one year, really good the next. It could happen. Chicago was terrible, and then Chicago was really good in the first year of their new head coach. The Rams were terrible, and then they were really good for 2 years in a row with Sean McVay. The league is set up for you to be really good quickly if you do it right. But on the other hand, if you want to go big picture, then you start setting yourself up for that championship window you referenced. And you give yourself, because really the championship window is before you pay your quarterback. Your championship window, if you do it correctly, should come in years 3 and 4 with a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract. Because once you pay that quarterback, if he is in fact the guy, you're not going to have the resources available to you that you once did, because that quarterback is going to be taking up about 15% of your cap space. We got Alex Smith taking up about, roughly 11% of our cap. you wish he wasn't, because if you're paying Dwayne Haskins to be your guy and he's on a rookie deal, it's almost being negated by Alex Smith's contract. That being said, I would side on, putting yourself in a position to win right now. I get it. You want to set yourself up for that championship window, and I'm all for it. And really, there's no wrong answer to this question. But for me, because the NFL is set up for you to win every year, you go for it now. But also, remember this. It's about winning now, but it's also about winning consistently. What I want to be is a triple P. For those of you not familiar with the vernacular, perennial playoff participant is what a triple P is. I want to be able to say, hey, we 10-6 this year, we 11-5 next year, we 10-6 again, we 12-4. You know the Redskins are going to be one of the better teams in the league. You know we're going to be competing for something. We may not make it to the NFC Championship game. We may not make it to the Super Bowl. But you know we're going to be in the playoffs or hovering around the postseason every single year. All right? I want to be one of those teams. What I don't want to be is the team that makes this crazy late season push, goes 9-7, backdoors the playoffs, and then you're back to 4-12, 5-11, 7-9 the next year. Or you make this hellacious run, you get to 10-6, you win the division, get a home playoff game, get bounced in the first round of the playoffs in wild card weekend at home, and then you miss the playoffs the next 4 years. I don't want to do that. So if you're telling me that trying to win now is going to equate to that, then I'll go for the championship window. But if you're telling me that I've got a shot by going for it now to win now and in the future, then I want to do that. Hopefully that answered your question. But once again, thank you for the super chat, Andrew Thompson. Khalil Young says, first of all, thank you for the super chat before and now. Thank you for doubling down. Appreciate your super chat. He says, Sweat, Young, etc. The line is awesome. That means find a corner and safety, and it's going to be really good for the defense. I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's how this thing is set up. You get to the quarterback, and really who you have at corner is minimized. I'm not saying you can have trash out there and have them succeed, but if you have elite pass rush, it takes some of the pressure off of your corners, meaning you don't have to divulge as many resources to that particular position. Case in point, the Seattle Seahawks. Able to get pressure on the quarterback, you can let Byron Maxwell walk in free agency. Why? We'll just stick another guy out there. Why were they able to just let, what was the guy that was out there before? The big tall one. God damn it. The one that's in trouble with the law all the damn time since he got out of the league. Oh, shit. Brandon Browner. Remember they started out with Brandon Browner? He was a beast, the original member of the Legion of Boom. And then they just let him go. And they replaced him with Byron Maxwell. Why? Because they could do that. Why? Because they could get to the quarterback. Had Dick Sherman on one side and put whoever you want on the other side. Doesn't matter. We can get to the quarterback. All right? You can find guys to get production in the secondary if you can get to the quarterback, which is why getting a Chase Young is imperative because it changes everything up front. Now those first-round picks we spent on Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne and the extension we gave to Matt Ioannidis and the first-round pick we spent on Montez Sweat, all of that starts to come to fruition if it all comes together because now you got a guy in Chase Young wreaking havoc. So, yeah, there's that. Appreciate the super chat, Khalil Young. DMV fan 123 says, did you see Vernon Davis acting? Yeah, I told you, I think he's got a really good career after football, just being charismatic. I'm not saying he's the greatest actor in the world, but I actually enjoyed the Golden Girls spot they did with the retirees. I thought it was actually really funny. It was well done, and it was a great way for him to announce that he was retiring from the NFL. So I told you, I think he's a man of many talents, and we're going to see what his second act looks like. But I think he's got a career in, post-football. I really do. All right. I think we got all the super chats out of the way. We did. So let's go to the phone lines. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Louis. This is Calvin. How are you?
What's going on, Calvin?
Nothing much. Hey,
I got a question. Got a couple of questions for you. Well, first one is the stadium situation. Mm-hmm. Where do you see it going, and where would you like to see it go?
Well, it's easy. Where everyone wants it is back at the old RFK site. Like, that's where the stadium belongs. It's in the city. It's easy to get to. It's where it belongs, to be honest with you. We're not the Maryland Redskins. We're not the Virginia Redskins. We're the Washington Redskins.
Right.
That's where the stadium should be. Where I think it ultimately will be, Virginia's starting to heat up. I think, honestly, it's going to end up right where it is. I think they're going to end up having to revamp FedEx Field. I don't think we're going to get a new stadium. I don't think anyone wants to give Daniel Snyder any money for it. He's going to have to put his own money into it. And because of that, I think he owns the land at where FedEx Field is. And I think ultimately he's going to have to revamp it. Redskins may have to play at Audi Field, where the DC Defenders are currently playing their games.
Right.
And while they're revamping the stadium and making it state of the art. And I hope that's not the case. But right now, that's what it's leaning towards, with all the politics that go on in DC, and with all the changes that have been made to people that were on Daniel Snyder's side no longer in office. It just seems like it's becoming harder and harder to envision the stadium being anywhere other than where it currently is.
Yeah, I think it's going to end up in Maryland, but there's also the possibility of it ending up at Oxon Hill Farm, or like right near the MGM.
Yeah, they've talked about it being down there where the MGM is, and that's a really nice area, but it's still kind of far away. It's a nice area. It's starting to boom a bit because of the MGM, but
right.
It's not. It's just it doesn't have the feel of the city. You know what I mean? Like the team belongs in DC, and that's what everyone wants. That's what Snyder wants. That's what we want as fans. It just doesn't. The politics of DC and in the area, it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen.
Yeah, I hope it does end up back in DC. That's where it should be. That's the ideal spot. I mean, it's easy to get to.
Right.
The transportation is simple. So it's that would be the perfect spot.
Right.
Now, the other thing, have you checked out any of the XFL stuff?
I did.
What did you think?
And I talked about this on my podcast. I said the first week is going to be amazing ratings-wise, and it's young, it's fresh, it's new. We did the same thing with the AAF last year. We're like, oh, man, this isn't half bad, This was a much better product than the AAF. I thought the presentation was much better. I even liked some of the things that they did. I liked the extra point thing, I don't want to take kickers completely out of the game, but, the option to go for 1, 2, or 3 I thought was pretty cool. I liked the I didn't care necessarily for the kickoff thing, but it's better than the alternative of getting rid of kickoffs altogether.
Yeah.
I thought the thing I enjoyed the most, I think if I'm in the NFL, I don't want them doing this, but I enjoyed the talking to guys after they either did something really good or really bad, right? Immediately.
That could be problematic.
That's problematic. You're right. Exactly. Like, I don't want you coming to talk to me like it was one guy that made a bonehead play. We see this in the NFL all the time, where the ball, Marquette King, who used to play for the Raiders and the Texans, makes an excellent punt.
Perfect punt.
I mean, you can't do it on the 1 yard line. 1 yard line. Like, it bounces back. Yeah. The returner doesn't touch it because he thinks it's going in the end zone, and it dies at the 1. And this idiot comes running down the field 30 miles an hour, and instead of him letting one of his teammates who are under control down the ball at the 1, he comes in and, like Leon Lett on Thanksgiving back in 93, knocks the damn ball into the end zone, and it's a touchback. And they stick the mic in his face right on the sidelines after he did this, and he doesn't want to talk to anybody because he knows he just messed up. Like, that could be problematic, like you said, but I enjoyed that. I
thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
And there's the one guy that started cursing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you're gonna get that. It's raw emotion. Like, if I'm a kicker and I missed the game-winning field goal, I don't want to talk to you right now. You know what I mean? Like, it's. I thought it was fun. Like, you couldn't do that in the NFL. Like,
Well,
NFL
did you
players.
notice how many former Redskins were?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, that goes to show you, one, that we had guys that weren't good enough to play in the league.
Yeah.
That's number one. But number two, like, for me, I think Rashad Ross to be in the league. I do.
Yeah, I could never understand Jay Gruden's fascination with Ryan Gruden over Rashad Ross.
Yeah.
I never got that. But
I always felt like Rashad Ross, there was a place in the league for him. And
yeah, same thing with well, I know why Matt Jones is not in the league.
Right.
You know, he can't hold on to the ball,
Right.
but he's he's in the XFL. But you know, he has NFL ability.
Yeah, he
and
does.
He just did not click for him. That's just like there's a guy, Darius Victor, that's playing running back for the New York team.
Mm-hmm.
Was a teammate of my son's at Towson,
Yeah.
and you know, and that kid, he's a fire hydrant. He's like 5'7". He's about 215, 220.
Yeah.
And he's extremely difficult to tackle.
Right.
You know, he's so low to the ground.
Right.
And Greg Olson was calling the game, and he said that he's a big body similar to Brandon Jacobs, and I'm going. No, he's not.
Yeah,
5'7", 215.
right. Yeah, he's more of like a Maurice Jones-Drew than he is. Yeah, than he is a Brandon Jacobs.
You know, so there are a few guys that will get some looks in the NFL, I believe. You know, once their season is over with. You know, I think there's a few of them. Darnold Parham is playing in the league. The guy that was
we had at the tight end
with
position
the Redskins last
Yeah.
preseason.
Yep.
6'8" tight
Tight
end.
end, right? Yep. I mean, and some of these guys will get another look, man. I'm gonna talk more about the XFL on my podcast. That's one of those things I'm definitely gonna talk about.
Yeah, I mean, you've been on top of things. I really appreciate all the information that you put out in the
Yep.
podcast and the live chats and stuff like
Yep.
that. It's really refreshing, as a Redskin fan to have a fellow Redskin fan doing stuff like this, because it breaks up the monotony when there's no NFL.
Right. You gotta have it, man. I totally get it. I mean, it's part of the reason that I continue to do this, because it's football season never really ends. You know what I mean? There's one real dead period, and that's after the draft. Like, it's crickets.
Yeah.
In like June, like late May, June. Then you get the mini camps and things, but it's really nothing going on then. But football really never stops. So,
there's also now I did see this, that they're having the first round draft party at the MGM. The Redskins are holding it there, and it was pointed out that actually might be a sign that
they're trying to get the stadium there.
Something's on the horizon when it comes to the stadium.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy that or not, but I just think it's a pretty cool place to have a draft party, personally. But
yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, now if they put a stadium over there, it would be interesting, because you got the casino there and the hotels, and it is right there, kind of on the Maryland, D.C., Virginia line, so it's kind of all three kind of intersect right there. So it would be interesting.
It would be, indeed, man. Hey, I appreciate you calling in, man. As always fun to talk to you, man. You take care.
You do the same.
No doubt.
Take care.
Alrighty, we have another super chat. So let's get to that. All right. So this super chat is from Neil Wessner. Neil Wessner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. And Neil writes, someone on NFL Total Access said they believe the Redskins will be the team in the top 10 of the draft that could turn around like the 49ers and be contenders. Thoughts? Yeah, look, these are the easy, low-hanging fruit takes. Who's the one team that we've compared ourselves to the most this offseason? All right? The San Francisco 49ers from last year. All right? That's the team we've constantly compared ourselves to, because the similarities have been staggering. All right? Young quarterback. You go with a coach, not necessarily coaching-wise, Kyle Shanahan. first time coaching in this league, but he's been in this league for quite some time. Ron Rivera, first, time coaching this Redskins football team. But when you look at the roster, you look at the plight of the team, you look at all the ingredients, the amount of first round resources and assets dumped into the defensive line and the defense for that matter. You look at the way things have been constructed. They're very similar in the approach. And everyone wants to take all of those things, and then you throw in the one thing that pushes it over the top. Nick Bosa's contribution to the 49ers run to the Super Bowl as the number 2 pick in the draft out of the Ohio State University. And now the Redskins sit in the same exact seat. Number 2 overall pick, edge rusher out of Ohio State that everyone thinks could come in and change the game. And if he does, could the Redskins take that monumental leap that the 49ers took? That to me is the conversation we've had all offseason. It makes a ton of sense. I don't know if the Redskins are ready to make that leap, though. But it's not out of the realm of possibility, as I've mentioned to you before. This is a league that's set up for you to be 3-13 one year, 12-4 the next. And if the Redskins catch lightning in a bottle, if Dwayne Haskins continues to take these leaps and bounds, strides that we think he's capable of taking, if Chase Young is what we think he is, if Jack Del Rio is the defensive coordinator that we think he is, if Ron Rivera is the leader of men that we know he can be, and everything comes together, Terry McLaurin is a true number 1. We add in the necessary parts via the draft. And don't forget how the 49ers hit in the draft as well. Not just in this past year, but years previous to last year. They've hit in drafts with George Kittle and guys like that have contributed. All right, the Jaquaski Tarts of the world and the Jimmy Wards, they've hit in past drafts as well that helped them get to where they are. And then they added with guys in this year's draft that just passed. All right, Dre Greenlaw was a guy that I didn't think could play at a high level in this league. He was one of their better linebackers this season. He was a revelation for them. I thought he was too undersized in this league to have an immediate impact. He comes in and is one of their better linebackers after Quan Alexander went down. Those are the kind of picks you have to make to change your team. Dre Greenlaw was a 5th-round pick. Those are the kind of guys you got to draft. They had a 5th-round tackle, I think a 6th or a 7th-round tackle in Justin School that came in when their tackle position was decimated. They had no plans of playing Justin School out of Vanderbilt as a 7th-round pick. I thought that was a throwaway pick. A guy you draft and stash on your practice squad and you develop, and maybe he can help you 2-3 years down the road. He had to start many games for them this year, and he played well. You have to make all of your picks matter. That's how you speed up the process. Will it happen for the Redskins? I don't know. Is it possible? Sure it is. And that's why you're going to hear more people talk about things such as that. And so, yeah, it can happen for sure. See if we got any other comments super chat wise. Nope, no more super chats at this very moment. Phone's ringing. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
What's going on, Louis? Your boy, Mr. Yedo.
Yo, what's going on, bro?
What's going on, man? Hey, look, I was trying to see. I know you probably hit on this a little bit earlier. I'm jumping on after work, but how do you think? I guess we're going into free agency, then we're going into the draft. What would you at the end of the day say is a win for us moving forward with the kind of this rebuilding process? What at the end of the day, after going through free agency, going through the draft, what would make you sit back and say, okay, I can really see this really coming to light and seeing exactly what the vision may be? Like, what are some of the pieces you think will help you feel that type of way with the Redskins season coming up?
That's a great question, man. I would tell you this. I would really like the Redskins to come away with the safety in free agency. I would feel really good if we got our hands on Anthony Harris from the Minnesota Vikings. If you told me that we got Greg Olsen in free agency, I'd feel really good about that. Those are two moves that I think are low cost, low risk, high reward type of moves. Then I would feel really good if you told me in the draft we got Chase Young, number 1 overall. I would feel good if you told me we got a tight end in the 3rd round, or a tight end that it could be impactful for us somewhere in the draft. It doesn't have to necessarily be in the 3rd round, but a good quality tight end that I believe can flourish in this league and become a really good tight end. If you told me we got one of those, I'd feel really good. If you told me that we got a corner, whether it be free agency or the draft, that we could feel really good about, I'd like that. If you told me that we re-signed Trent Williams, we re-signed Quinn Dunbar, we re-signed Brandon Sheriff or Eric Flowers, I don't think both of those guys are going to be back, honestly speaking. I think it's a one of or the other proposition, because I think they're going to play Wes Martin this year. I think he showed enough at the end where he's a cheaper, younger option than both of those guys. And so I think they're going to look to tap into that. I don't see both of those guys getting paid. So if you tell me one of those guys is back, I feel good about that. And you can't lose both of them, though. That can't happen. And then you tell me that we've added a receiver, because I feel like receiver is one of those positions that we don't talk about it enough, but I think we do need to add another guy. You know, whether that be free agency or the draft, I think we need to add another playmaker at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, and, looking at everything playing out, man, it's really with the whole Dunny situation, man, that really scared me. Mm-hmm. Because I was like, man, to go into free agency trying to catch 2 people and then afraid that the Redskins might try to figure something out even in the draft because if Dunny's gone, thank God it kind of got a little bit more cleared out. Mm-hmm. But I think, again, a lot of these holes, if they get adjustments, I think I'd feel a little bit more confident, and then they build in with some young guys who could really come and contribute, that can learn from these veterans that he wants to bring in. Right. I think that would make me feel a little bit better around what we're trying to accomplish. I think that mix of having – because I love that we have a very youthful group, but I do see Ron Rivera's point when it comes down to the veterans, right? Yeah. Because there's things that we cannot teach. I was watching the rundown that the Redskins put out, and they were talking to Randy Jordan, right? Right. And Randy Jordan was talking about how AP does a lot of things differently, but he brings in this professionalism and how he maintains his body. Mm-hmm. And Randy Jordan was like, "Look, don't get it twisted. He's a freak of nature. Right. That's genetics right there as well." But he was like coming in and bringing in that professionalism and that veteranship to guys, to Love, can really play a factor where these guys can understand, hey, you don't just get prepared like you were in college. You have to be prepared all year round. Right. So when it's ready to go, it's ready to go. You're not trying to play catch up. You're already doing what needs to be done. And he brought up things like yoga and things of that sort. And like I said, it's really been exciting and refreshing what's going on. And the whole Dunny thing scared me. And, when negative press comes out, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. It's like, damn, again. Right. What other negative thing could come out with the whole positive movement? Right. It did bring me back some, but I'm kind of happy with what's going on. And like I said, I just wanted to get your take to see exactly at the end of the day, when everything's said and done, when we get through free agency, when we get through the draft, and we're getting into OTAs and getting into minicamp and everything, what will make you say, hey, we did it right. I see where we're going. I understand we still got a few more years to go, but we did the right steps into the right direction to get us to, again, the example everybody loves to bring up, the 49ers. Right. Are we moving in the right direction to become the 49ers, or are we becoming like the Cleveland Browns, trying to do all this stuff and still sucking and being a terrible organization? Right. So I appreciate it, Lou, man. See you.
Hey, no problem, man.
Your vacation with your wifey.
Yeah.
But I'll let you go, man. Have a great night.
Hey, I appreciate that, Mr. Yeto. Have a good one, bro.
You too, bro. All right.
So, yeah, I think there are things that need to be done, steps that need to be taken for us to feel really good. Like I said, honestly, this is a unique offseason for us as Redskins fans. For one, this is the first time in a decade, no Bruce Allen. That's so refreshing. That in itself. This is the first time in 6 years, no Jay Gruden. That in itself is something that you can just kind of exhale like it's a weight off your shoulders. It's a breath of fresh air. Now let's see what we're going to do. And I think this offseason is so intriguing for so many different reasons. But also you want to find out, what does Ron Rivera envision this team being? What does he envision this roster looking like? And if he envisions it looking a certain way, who are the guys that he envisions being anchors of that? who are the guys that he feels like are pillars and the foundation of this moving forward. And we're going to start to see that this offseason, with some of these signings. Trent Williams, yes, he's up there in age, but as Mr. Yitto just referenced, you need veterans on this football team too to help steer some of these young guys and show them how to work and show them, what it takes to be successful in this league. And you can't have the blind leading the blind. We were so young last year. It was fun. I'm a Memphis Grizzlies fan in the NBA. It's so fun watching the Grizzlies. They're so young and they're vibrant, but you still need those, veterans in there. And, that's why I was like, Jay Crowder was such an important piece because he was a veteran, and you keep that glue together. You see these Redskins, you want to make sure, and that's where Landon Collins comes in. It's where a guy like Trent Williams and Adrian Peterson and all these other guys that are veterans that have been in this league, that have seen it, done it. You want enough of those guys to keep the nucleus of this team together, to show some of the young guys how to be leaders so that the next generation of Redskins can be the leaders in his locker room. Ryan Kerrigan is another guy. We keep trying to push him out the door, but there is value to a Ryan Kerrigan. He's not a vocal leader, but he does work his ass off. There's a reason why Ryan Kerrigan was damn near in the league for a decade before he missed a game. All right? Because he trained properly. He put himself in a position to be available almost every single week. So there's something to be said about that. I definitely feel like this team is in a good position with the young talent that they have, but you also have to be able to offset that with some veterans that can come in and help as well. All right, so we are closing in on 10:30, which will be 2 full hours live. Let's get ready to get out of here. I will grab a couple of comments real quick to get us out of here. See if I can grab a few that make sense. Likely Phenomenon says, there's plenty of rumors that your Washington Redskins are trading the number 2 overall pick to my Detroit Lions, getting Chase Young. Only way the Redskins would trade that pick is if the Lions are coming up to get Tua Tagovailoa. I don't know if the Lions are really looking to move on from Stafford or not. I highly doubt that. Seriously, I do. OJ Turner says, what's good, bro? Appreciate all the Redskins content you do, fam. Quick question. Trey Boston, Justin Simmons, or Anthony Harris, which safety would you prefer? I told you my favorite safety in the league is Justin Simmons. I just can't see any way possible that he's not a Denver Bronco. He's too valuable to that defense. They'd be some damn fools to let him walk. And so for me, Justin Simmons is a Denver Bronco. I would even go as far as to say if they can't reach an agreement with him, he would be franchise tagged. That's how important I feel like he is to that Broncos defense. I could be wrong, and they could view him in a different light. I just think Justin Simmons is that good. But for me, it's Anthony Harris. I think he's the guy that will actually, and I think the Vikings feel the same way about Anthony Harris. I think they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that he remains in Minnesota. But you can't pay everybody, as I've mentioned before. And maybe he's a guy that ends up being the fat that they end up trimming off the edge. So I thank you guys for this stream. This was one of the better streams we've had. Great callers, great comments, tons of super chats, all insightful. This was really fun. This was great. I'm looking forward to doing this again. I think we had some great comments, great callers, and we actually had some content to chew on. And so this was fun, and the videos I put out, you guys watched, and we were able to discuss that, the Breland, Dunny thing, and some of these trades and some of the comments you guys left. All of those things are important to keep this thing moving the way that it needs to function at a high level. So I appreciate you guys' participation, because that is vital to the way this operates and this works. So I can't thank you guys enough for that. But yep, time for me to glide to the side. We've been at it for 2 hours now, and so it's time for us to get out of here. I thank you guys for joining me. This has been fantastic. Looking forward to chopping it up with you guys in the future. More Redskins content coming your way. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this draft stuff. I'll talk more about that on my podcast though. So make sure you're checking out the Louis T Network podcast. New episode should be dropping tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that as well. Thank you guys so much for everything. Remember, I am a Redskins fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. Redskins spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington Redskins. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you like this video. Subscribe to the Louis T Network if you haven't already done so. Share this video. Tell anybody you can about the Louis T Network and the work that we put in here on this channel to bring you guys some of the best Redskins content available on the internet. I'm your man Louis T, signing off. Thanks again. You guys take care. Have a good one. See you next time.
Louis T Network.